Members, good morning. It's the appointed time and we have a quorum. I call to order the meeting. Agenda item 1. Information papers issued since last meeting. Since the last meeting, the Secretariat has issued in total 2 papers. Please refer to the agenda for the relevant details. Agenda item 2. Items for discussion at the next meeting. The next panel meeting will be held on the 10th of April. It's a Friday. It will start from 8:30 a.m. The TLB and the CSTB propose discussing the 2 following items respectively. 1. Latest development of the Hong Kong International Airport. And 2. Hong Kong Tourism Board work plan for 2026-2027. Do members have particular views on the above suggestions? If not, we'll move on to the next agenda item. That's agenda item 3, cargo transshipment facilitation. I now invite government officials to come in, and in the meantime, members who would like to speak, please press the request to speak button. This item relates to a legislative proposal, and all Legislative Council members are invited to join the discussion of this item. I welcome government officials to join us. Welcome Ms. Mabel Chen and her team for joining this discussion. Currently, a total of 7 members have requested to speak. I'll read out the lineup. Mr. Sunny Tan, Captain Lothar Lam, Mr. Tommy Chung, Mr. Holden CHOW, Mr. Chen Xiu Hong, Mr. Stephen Ho, Deputy Chair, Mr. Andrew Lam, and myself. I'll give each member 3 minutes, including questions and answers. First, I'll invite the administration to walk us through the paper. I understand there is a PowerPoint presentation, right? Thank you, Chairman. I'll say a few words first. Good morning, members. Hong Kong is a premier Asia logistics hub, and we are connected to the world. We strive to build Hong Kong into a transshipment hub. Our advantages lie in our strategic position, as well as our capacity to be connected to the world, the state-of-the-art infrastructure, as well as the high-quality service providers and a competitive tax regime. We're competitive in terms of our status as an international maritime and international center. That's why our ports are ranked the busy in the world. The government has recently promulgated the 15th Five-Year Plan, and our country clearly stated its support in encouraging Hong Kong to build itself into an international transshipment hub. We are building a multimodal transport network with the GBA. And through river, sea, and land multimodal transport system, we strive to build a hub, and through this network, we can expand the hinterland of Hong Kong and enhance our competitiveness. GBA cities are our major source of cargo. With our great network with the GBA cities as well as our international transshipment network, we see our advantages. However, in terms of air, sea, and land transport, we're facing great challenges. For example, fierce competition from neighboring airports. Also, we are faced with uncertain geopolitical situations. For example, recently we see volatility in the Middle East, and that provides uncertainty to the logistics and supply chain. We're faced with such a challenge, and therefore we have to seize the opportunity. And we have to be able to overcome the challenge to be a good entrepôt. This paper comes in a very timely manner. This is because it proposes ways to enhance our competitiveness as a transshipment hub, and we're proposing enhancement measures to relax the relevant restrictions and barriers. Our success in transshipment lies in a measure rolled out in year 2000. It is the Air Transshipment Goods Exemption Scheme. Through air-to-air intermodal transport mode, when transporting cargo through the Hong Kong International Airport restricted area, there needs to be no permit application, and we propose to further relax the scheme. The Airport Authority has already set up the Guangdong Logistics Park. And through the multimodal transport system, we're able to transport cargo to other places. And in year 2025, over 32,000 tons of goods were processed by the Dongguan Logistics Park, and it represents an increase of 30 to 40%. And our goal is that by the 1st of April next year, we're able to put that into commercial operation, and on the 1st of June, it will be put into service officially and will expand the capacity of the logistics park. In order to enhance the competitiveness of our transshipment hub, we see that maritime transshipment as well as relevant cargo has become our biggest source, and last year it has contributed over 80% of the cargo throughput. We see efficient clearance in our ports, and therefore we see that in recent years more shipping companies choose to come to Hong Kong to load their cargo. We believe that the relevant operation will be able to bring thousands of tons of cargo to Hong Kong. In the 2024 policy address, the Chief Executive proposed to expand the multimodal transport system to other areas. We'll make sure that the relevant cargoes won't be leaked into the market, and that we will be able to comply with the international convention. We will, after hearing members' views today, strive to submit the relevant legislative proposal to CHOW for scrutiny. In relation to the details of the proposal, I'll ask Ms. Amy Chen to give a PowerPoint presentation. We're happy to listen to members' views and respond to members' questions afterwards. Thank you, Ms. Mabel Chen. I'll invite Ms. Amy Chen, Deputy Secretary for Transport and Logistics, to take us through the PowerPoint presentation. Good morning. Riding on what our Secretary said, I will now brief members on the legislative proposal. Hong Kong's International Aviation Hub, Transport Hub and International Trade Center are recognized by the central government. Given the support from our country, the Hong Kong government has been enhancing its competitiveness in the logistics sector. We also work proactively with the GBA to enhance our status as a transshipment hub. The HKIA set up the Dongguan Logistics Park, and that's one example of our work. Cargo from the mainland could go through security screening in Dongguan, and through waterway it could be transported to the airside intermodal air cargo handling facility, and then it is transported to the overseas destinations. And this scheme started in 2024. In year 2025, the logistics park processed over 32,000 tons of goods, representing an increase of 84% year on year, and the value of cargo handled reached $35 billion. The first phase of the permanent facility of the logistics park will be put into operation on the 1st of April 2027, and it will be put into full operation on the 1st of June 2027. It will increase the throughput. As mentioned by the Secretary, transshipment cargo accounts for 80% of the total container throughput. And with shipping companies choosing Hong Kong to discharge the containers from the vessel and storing them at the container terminal and then loading them onto another vessel, this is crucial to the operation of our container terminal. We are an entrepôt and we provide great convenience, and that's why we managed to become the regional transshipment hub. Currently, most of the cargo that are transported through Hong Kong, they do not require any permit, except 41 types of goods, and we call them controlled goods. As for the permit of the controlled goods, they apply to transshipment cargo as well. As mentioned, since 2000, in order to enhance our competitiveness as a transshipment hub, the government has amended the relevant legislation on licensing requirements, and the exempted goods cover strategic commodities as well as frozen or chilled meat. And they are transshipped through the airport, consigned with a through bill of lading, and confined in the airport restricted area, so they won't be leaked into the market of Hong Kong. Since 2010, we have been ranked the busiest airport for 14 years. This shows that the exemption scheme can boost our competitiveness. And from our experience of the exemption scheme, the exempted licensing requirement can encourage relevant companies to pick Hong Kong as the transshipment hub, and it also attracts airline companies to travel through Hong Kong, and that would bring additional cargo throughput for Hong Kong. If we further extend the scheme, it would attract ship liners to berth in Hong Kong, and that would bring more transshipment cargo to Hong Kong. The sector believes that if the scheme is expanded, it will be able to bring an additional 500,000 containers of standard size to Hong Kong. In order to further consolidate our status as an international aviation and logistics hub, we believe that we have to enhance our transshipment regime. Therefore, we propose to expand the exemption scheme to sea-air, air-sea, as well as maritime transshipment. For the cargo handled by the Dongguan Logistics Parks, the process is as follows. The transshipment cargo first undergo security screening, palletization, and acceptance in the logistics parks. Afterwards, it is transported by water to the restricted area of the international airport in Hong Kong. For sea-air transport, it is of a reversed process. The entire process is subject to the security requirements of Hong Kong, and in between there won't be any interference from other parties when while it is transported to the restricted area of the international airport of Hong Kong. So we think that this exemption scheme should cover this kind of transshipment mode. The licensing requirement apply to the goods transported to the Kwai Ching container terminal, and we think that this exemption scheme should only apply to the cargo that stay in the Kwai Ching container terminal. In order to prevent the goods from entering the market of Hong Kong, containers will only be transshipped between container terminal number 1 to 8 or within container terminal number 9. And when the goods arrive at the Kwai Ching container terminal, they should be kept at the designated containers to make sure that there won't be any illegal diversion. In other words, after the ocean-going vessels are berthed in the container terminal, the goods will be kept at the designated containers, and after the outbound vessels arrive, the container of goods will be loaded to the vessels, and this kind of containers will be equipped with AI enabled CCTV system to ensure security of the container yards. And we will make sure that only qualified and pre-registered personnel can get close to the container yards. And the controlled goods can only be kept at the second floor of the container yards to make sure that no one can get close to the cargoes. Also, Customs and Excise can check the intranet of the container terminal to check the details or the real-time location of the cargoes. The government has been liaising with the relevant sector, and also last October we consulted the Logistics Development Council in Hong Kong, and we got the support of the council members, and we hope to submit the legislative proposal to LegCo within this year. We hope that members will support our amendments. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary. I believe that through this scheme, then for Hong Kong, there will be more transshipment cargo volume. Now it's time for questions from members. First, Mr. Sunny Tan. Thank you, Chairman. I would like to declare that my family business involves catching fish. So we are also using Hong Kong's logistics park. So I am in support of the proposal. I would like to share with the Bureau that we can see from the business point of view that Hong Kong Logistics Park, especially in relation to cold chain, can actually greatly enhance the overall GBA's competitiveness. Without this speed, then for business related to cold chain, it is not possible for that place to be turned into a gathering place. Now, GBA has huge population, so there is indeed the need for example, a gathering ground for seafood and other related industries, so that there can be in and out movements between Hong Kong and overseas countries. And if there is this fast speed at Dongguan, then no one can really replace us. So a few years ago, I think the government, the airport authority had exercised very good judgment in coming to this conclusion. So this is commendable. Apart from talking about transshipment legislation, okay, from transport to logistics, and then how can it be extended to operations so that operations can be smoother? So regarding our competitiveness from logistics service all the way to transshipment and customs procedures and transport, so things can be even more integrated at higher speed. This is very important. So at the preliminary process, we have already tried out with the AA and things are successful. And we do hope the Bureau can follow up on subsequent legislative details. Secretary, thank you, Mr. Tan, for your sharing. Indeed, Hong Kong possesses much advantage in cold chain. All over Asia, we have the most facilities in relation to cold chain here in Hong Kong. Apart from the legislative proposal and amendments that we are proposing today, actually we will learn from experience. AA's experience at the Dongguan Logistics Park will be expanded, as explained earlier. In terms of legislation, the import-export permit can be exempted. At the same time, at the Kwai Ching terminal, there will be intelligence surveillance facilities. So at the airport, there are similar facilities for transshipment. Regarding cold chain, cargoes, transshipment, and transfer, we also hope that they can benefit from our proposal today about removing barriers. And then at Kwai Ching terminal, there will be the intelligent security measures. Secondly, I do agree with Mr. Tan. So on the whole supply chain, from airport and port all the way to transport. Now, at the Customs and Excise, there is a cross-border through train, so that these facilitation measures will be extended to other mainland cities. Recently, we had gone to Guangxi, so there will be an intelligent, smart information sharing system so that we can provide an all-round service. Thank you, Chairman. Next, Mr. Lothar Lam. Thank you, Chairman. Secretary, thank you, Secretary. On behalf of the industry, I would like to thank you for introducing this exemption scheme so that it will be extended to even more transshipment channels. Right now, it is only limited to the Hong Kong Airport's Dongguan Logistics Park and also the Kwai Ching Container Terminal. And then the goods cannot enter the public roads. But then I think this is a good policy that can support our business, cargo business, in terms of sea transport and air transport. Okay, I am working in a shipping company. I am a senior executive of that company, so I am sort of related to transshipment and logistics. So after this transshipment model is put in place, I hope that it will be extended to land to sea and land to air transshipment, because these are important stakeholders in the industry. Operation is not easy right now. Technology is advanced. There is GPS, so there is no need to worry that the transshipped products will leak into our society. So just now it is said that every year there will be an additional 500,000 containers from this scheme. How did you derive this number? Paragraph 15 states that at KTCT there will be 4 DSCYs, which will accommodate the transshipped containers. So for containers stored at the DSCYs, will they be managed by the customs and excise or by the terminal operators? Will there be intranet surveillance, or is it necessary for an increase in manpower? And then for air to sea transshipment, you just said that there would be an additional 500,000 TEUs for air cargo. Well, if they come through the Dongguan Logistics Park for sea to air transshipment, then on 1st April next year, there will be commercial operation and official operation in June. Then there will be greater capacity as a result. After this measure is implemented, so if there is full operation at the Dongguan Logistics Park, then how much will be the increase in air cargo volume? I will take the third question, and I will ask C&E colleagues to answer the first two questions. At the Dongguan Logistics Park, right now, we are in early operation stage. There are some temporary measures. As far as I know, we are now handling a few 10,000 tons of cargoes. And on 1st June next year, when we start official operation, then we believe that the volume will reach 1 million metric tons. So the other questions can be answered by our C&E colleagues. Right. Thank you, Chairman and Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Lam, for the question. Your first question is, in the future at KTCT, there will be transshipment facilities, and who will be the managing agency? I believe that it will be done by C&E as well as the terminal operator. Why? We have been working with the Transport Logistics Bureau and friends from the industry on our proposal. From C&E's perspective, we have to guard against the risk of smuggling. And so, together with the operators, we are formulating some concrete measures. As our secretary said just now, there will be controlled areas for the storage of transshipped cargoes. At the same time, we'll make use of multi-layer physical and scientific facilities. For example, there will be CCTV equipped with AI detection function, and C&E will also monitor cargo movements at all these places. With the operators, we have said that there should be advanced registration with C&E about the cargoes. So we will do early risk assessment, and then we can achieve information and data sharing. We will continue to work with the Transport and Logistics Bureau and the operators. The third question is, do we need to increase manpower in order to achieve better surveillance and monitoring? With advanced technology, we hope that our work will be technology-based, and we will review our manpower need based on actual circumstances. Thank you. Next, Mr. Tommy Chung. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I do agree to expand the exemption measures to air-to-air and air-to-sea transshipment. So concerning air transport and sea transport, there are some differences. For air transport, the duration and journey is shorter. There are not so many waves and currents, and sometimes there is misdeclaration case. So for the exempted cargoes or containers, would there be X-ray inspection so that at least you know that the cargoes are in line with the safe placement methods and to lower international legal risk? For example, in the second schedule, you talked about strategic resources, mercury, number 4 mercury, number 11, hazardous food, and so on. So is the storage of these items safe? Are they in line with declaration? There's the need for continuous inspection. Now there are 4 DSCYs at KTCT that can accommodate 140 containers, and controlled cargoes can only be stored on the second level. So is the capacity enough at these 140 at these DSCYs? Is there the need for expansion? So regarding storage on the second layer, is it necessary for you to designate an independent exempted product storage place? Apart from the security measures at the container terminals, can there be electronic gates, as in the case of bonded warehouses? I know there is 24-hour CCTV, but if some containers are removed by some other people, then you will at least know immediately. That's my question. Assistant Commissioner, please. Thank you, Chairman, members, for the questions. As mentioned just now, we have been deliberating with the sea transport operators regarding security and risk management. We have attached much importance to it, especially for those controlled products or cargoes. Even with the facilitation measures, we'll continue to be intelligence-centered, and risk management will be in our principle. So as said earlier, we will receive some confidential information in advance, and then we will do random inspection of the cargoes. As the member said, so there are 4 DSCYs. Are they enough for future needs? This is flexible. We'll continue to discuss with the logistics industry, and we will optimize the situation based on actual circumstances. And then concerning the containers on the second level or layer, as said earlier, there is designated area at the container terminal. There won't be other types of cargoes there. And then for electronic gates, right now at KTCT, there is this electronic gate system already. And we will do further exploration, hoping that there would be direct connection with our 24-hour CCTV system. And then our department will continue to work with the Transport Logistics Bureau and the related certificate issuing departments about relatively sensitive cargoes to see whether we can further relax the requirement and how much more relaxation is possible. Thank you. Next, Mr. Holden CHOW. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, the Bureau is introducing this sea-to-air or air-to-sea transshipment facilitation measures. I believe these measures will help Hong Kong's transshipment business. This is definitely something good. I have 2 questions. First, I noticed that in para 4 of the paper, so in the past and recently, in relation to electronic goods and electronic components and also alternative smoking products, these are frequently transshipped products. And if you refer to Annex 1 and 2, you can see some import-export restricted or controlled products. And then there are exemptions in Annex 2. Under these exemptions, smoke-free smoking products are included. And then these items also appear in Annex 1, and there are also alternative smoking products. Now, I would like to understand from the Bureau, regarding alternative smoking products and smoke-free tobacco products, what are the differences? Since we know that alternative smoking products will not get into Hong Kong, they are only transshipped. In the last term, or in the last session in this panel, well, we have discussed that since these smoking products are only transshipped, well, other people can also do transshipment business. Since there is this proposed legislative enhancement, will you consider that regarding transshipment of alternative smoking products, that there can be more convenient exemption? Now, in the paper, for smoke-free tobacco products, there is exemption already, but my understanding of the paper may not be the clearest. So I would like to know more about this, because many people are employed. So this is also an industry. So I want to know whether there is this consideration. Thank you.
I think Mr. Holden CHOW asked questions that are of other members' concerns, especially concerns about e-cigarettes. Shenzhen is the biggest manufacturing center of e-cigarettes. If they can be transported through Hong Kong, it will bring a lot of benefits to us. Ms. Mabel Chen, I'll first say a few words and then I'll ask Ms. Amy Chen to elaborate. Last year, at the same panel on within a very short period of time, we're able to pass a bill on ASPs, which allowed us to transship ASP products. For this legislative proposal, we try to introduce exemptions to licensing requirements so as to reduce time and costs. Last year, we passed a bill on ASPs. And for air and sea transshipment cargoes that come from Shenzhen or other mainland places, we were able to streamline the procedure. Perhaps I'll ask Ms. A.B. Chan to see how we can provide greater convenience in the future. Ms. Chan? Annex 1 shows the goods that are subject to exemption, and Annex 1 shows the 41 types of goods that require permits. And for Annex 2, they are subject to exemption of licensing requirements during air-to-air transshipment. We have to ask the relevant departments as we draft the legislative proposal to see if they agree to the proposal. And after we've consulted the developments, we are able to expand the exemption scheme. For the suggestion raised by Mr. Holden CHOW, perhaps we'll have to talk to the relevant regulatory departments. Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to propose some enhancement measures so that we can do better in the future. Next, Mr. Chen Shu-hong. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I'd like to say that today we have this panel on economic development to discuss the two discussion items. It was only yesterday that we received the relevant papers from the Secretariat. I believe that it is because it is related to a legislative proposal. That's why the administration wanted to be more prudent. I hope that in future we could be left with more reasonable amount of time for us to read the papers. On this item about enhancing the competitiveness of Hong Kong as a leading transshipment hub to bring in an additional 500,000 containers, I speak in support of this proposal. I have two concerns. My first concern is similar to that raised by Captain Lothair Lam. I want to know that under this legislative proposal of the CNED, the operator will put in place measures in the container yards and that an AI system will be introduced in the container yard. Well, I understand that for this kind of systems that involve the use of internet, there might be cybersecurity issues. If the relevant system is disrupted or interfered with, will the CNED get an immediate notification from the operator, or is it that the CNED will be informed through the system directly? This has to do with the regulation of the CNED. I hope that there won't be situations where the CNED will only discover the loopholes in a later stage. So I want to know the accountability of the operator. Also, I'd like to ask about paragraph 16 of the administration paper. It says that the government will study the feasibility of extending the scheme to cover land to sea and land to air transshipment, considering that there is close transshipment businesses between Hong Kong and other GBA cities. I want to know if there is a concrete timetable to study the feasibility and under what conditions will the Hong Kong government consider extending the scheme to cover land to sea and land to air transshipment. I thank Mr. Chen Xiu-hong for raising the point. Yes, it is true that only yesterday we received the papers. I hope that the administration will give us the papers earlier in advance in the future. Secretary, please respond to the questions raised by Mr. Chen Xiu-hong. I thank Mr. Chen for the questions. On the submission of papers, I will urge our team to leave enough time for members to read the papers in the future. I will respond to the first question first. As Mr. Chen said, under the multimodal transshipment model, apart from sea-air, air-sea, and maritime transshipment, it is equally important for us to ensure that there is a land-to-sea or land-to-air transshipment because we have the Kuai-ching container terminal. We have to therefore relax the relevant restrictions. One important point about the facilitation measure proposed is that we want to ensure that there is a dedicated transshipment route to ensure that during the entire transshipment process, we can better monitor the process and that we can do sampling check. Second, while cargoes are transshipped, they might have to be stored temporarily. And when they have to go through palletization, we want to make sure that there is an AI-enabled security system in place. Through the proposed legislative amendment, we want to streamline the procedure. And also through the Dongguan Logistics Parks as well as the Kuai-ching Container Terminal, we will implement the relevant arrangement and facilities. The relevant measures will allow us to make sure that these measures will cover land to sea and land to air transshipment, and we will study the feasibility of extending the proposed scheme. Say in future there's a vacant plot of land or there are AI-enabled facilities that would allow us to adhere to the risk-based approach and that we will be able to get intelligence and information that would enable the CNED to do sampling check and implement regulatory measures. Then we will be able to abide by the International Convention on the regulatory requirement and ensure that we will control any potential security risks. So we will examine the feasibility and we hope that in the near future we'll be able to extend the proposed scheme. CNED, I thank the member for the questions. Apart from carrying out law enforcement, the CNED has to strike a good balance. Under the exemption scheme, we have to make sure that there is comprehensive regulation in place. Just now we talked about our monitoring work at the terminal. Apart from designating a certain area for keeping transshipment cargoes at the terminal. We will install a system with AI detection functions. It is a 24/7 CCTV system which is connected to the 24/7 surveillance center of the CNED. So I believe that we'll be able to put in place an effective monitoring system. And through this system, we will be able to ensure that there won't be any illegal leakage or diversion of the controlled goods into the local market. Next, Mr. Stephen Ho. Thank you, Chairman. I agree with Mr. Chen Xiu-hong. The papers come too late. But there was actually a briefing session for us members. It is a good practice. This is because if you could inform us beforehand, we would be able to ask more precise questions. I hope the government will adopt the same practice next time, that is to call us up before this panel meeting. I'd like to ask about paragraph 10 of the paper. It says that if we put in place such measures, there will be an additional 500,000 containers brought to Hong Kong. This is because the permit applications will be waived. I want to know if the projection of the Hong Kong SAR government is in line with that of the relevant industry. Is it that we do not have room to boost maritime businesses? So the additional 500,000 containers, is it a conservative estimation or is it a great vision that we would like to achieve? So what will you do to ensure that you'll be able to meet this target? I'd like to ask also about para 8. Under the exemption scheme, sea, air, sea, and maritime transshipment will be covered, and 15 types of goods are already exempted. For the new types of goods that are going to be exempted, are they in line with Schedule 2 of the list of controlled goods? This has to do with the government's policy, so I'd like to learn more in this regard. I know that some of the goods may not be transported through an air-sea and sea-air transshipment mode. Mr. Holden CHOW just now asked about smokeless tobacco products. I want to ask the CNED whether in future similar types of goods could be covered in the list of exemption of licensing requirements so that we can do better. Ms. Mabel Chen, on the question about our estimation, well, thanks to LegCo members, we had to do a cost-benefit analysis. Same here, we made an estimate. We are leaning towards a more conservative estimation. You can see from our paper that there are over 300 shipping agents and shipping companies in the maritime industry, and currently, because of the permit requirements, they have to wait at the terminal for 2 to 3 days. So according to the sector's estimate, after we have put in place the enhancement measures, they hope that based on the existing situation, we will be able to bring an additional 500,000 containers to Hong Kong annually. We want to enhance our status as an entreport and a catch-up port, and we want to expand our hinterland in the mainland, as well as to establish a comprehensive rail, sea, land, river intermodal transport system. Also, at the Dongguan Logistics Park, currently we only have put in place temporary measures. For example, there are piers as well as bridges only. And currently, we are trying to build a comprehensive cargo handling center. As mentioned in the paper, by the middle of next year, the permanent facilities will be put into operation. And that would involve some 30 airline companies and over 100 companies which have already joined the scheme. We believe that after the permanent facilities are put into operation, we'll be able to handle about 1 million tons of cargo. Of course, we will have to improve our capacity, but I hope that with the multi-pronged approach, we will be able to bring an additional container cargo throughput.
Assistant Commissioner, a brief response, please. Thank you, Chairman and Member. The answer is about categories of exempted goods in the schedule or in the annex. Now, we are working with the Policy Bureau and also the related certificate issuing government departments. We are in communication, of course. All along, SARG has been working hard to maintain stringent control so as to make sure that illegal items will not be transshipped into Hong Kong. We will work with the relevant departments to put in place appropriate control and preventive measures. Thank you. Next, Mr. Andrew Lam, please. I am in support of this legislative proposal because it represents a step forward. Just now I heard from the Secretary in her answer to colleagues about future extendability to other cities. I would like to pay particular attention to the following point. Today we are talking about sea, land, air transshipment, and the Secretary and the Bureau are also working on low-altitude economy. Now, in terms of cargo volume, perhaps it is not yet reaching the level yet, but then I'm sure speed is also very important, especially for high value-added products. After this legislative exercise, is it true that in the system, you will continue to communicate with other places? Today, we have the Dongguan Logistics Park within GBA, Nansha, Zhuhai. There are still many other possibilities. So will you continue your deliberation on that? Then I am particularly concerned about exemption. We heard that you need to communicate with other departments. In Hong Kong, we want to promote the development of life science, biomedicine, Chinese medicine, and so on. And all these are in Schedule 1. I hope that you will actively work with relevant departments on further exemption arrangement. Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Lam, for mentioning low-altitude economy. So the extendability will not be will not exclude other intermodal arrangements. For low-altitude economy, we are working with some mainland cities and ports to actively explore the possibility of cross-border logistics. We have just visited the northern metropolis, and in Hong Shui Kiu, in the modern logistics circle, there is one site that is responsible for freight forwarding and low altitude economy. We hope that that would be a pilot point so that our logistics industry can make use of drones for delivery. And in Hong Kong, in the northern metropolis, and at other control points, drones can be used to deliver high value-added items and products that need speedy delivery. We will design some routes. And we are talking about Shenzhen, Tianhai, Nansha, and Shenzhen Bay control points. These are points that we can actively look into. Our Bureau, CEDD, and relevant departments, especially the CNE, will actively explore the situation along this direction. So the next question should be answered by CNE. Assistant Commissioner, about categories of exempted products. So regarding life science and other cargoes or goods within the import and export control regime, there won't be difference. We will look into whether they can be incorporated into the sea transshipment scheme. Thank you. Colleagues, a few more colleagues have pressed the button. 9 more members are waiting for their chance to speak. So I will draw a line here. There won't be a second round of questioning. So members, please try your best to limit your time to 3 minutes, including question and answer. Mr. Dennis Leung, please. Thank you, Chairman. The government is using different measures to boost the economy and increase revenue. At the same time, they are trying to help the industry to lower cost. So I express my welcome for the government's move, but then at the same time of boosting the economy, we are also concerned about safety and security. This is important. We have to guard against criminal offenses and also loopholes. So in relation to the logistics park between Dongguan and Hong Kong AA, are there any irregularities so that we need to enhance security and management? Second question, in the future, at Kwai Ching Container Terminal, there will be 140 more places for storage. I would like to know the turnover rate. Have you done any calculation at seasonal peaks or in case of vessel delays? Then at those storage places, will there be bottleneck or stranding, so that that would be impact to operations? Are there any measures of the government to make sure that there won't be delay when the containers come in, because that may affect future industry's confidence? I believe that for big companies there won't be problems, but are there some measures to help the SMEs? At least the system has to be fair so that everyone can make use of these facilities, and together we can promote the economy together. Does the government have relevant policies? 3 questions. Thank you. Let me try to answer the 3 specific questions from Mr. Leung. At the Dongguan Logistics Park right now, it is in a trial run stage. I have taken a look at the operation. So they are doing security, palletization, and cargo acceptance there. And then the cargoes will be transported by water, by feeder vessels. And then at the Western terminal, there would be a place to unload the cargoes. And then AA, Hong Kong AA, will arrange people to load the cargoes onto some designated vehicles, and then those cargoes will be brought to the restricted area of the airport. Now, we're in the process of accumulating experience, so in the whole process, there is monitoring by manpower. Overall speaking, operation is safe and smooth. Your second question has been answered by our C&E people already. Your point is good. Right now, at Kwai Ching Container Terminal, there is a security and storage area that we have provided for. In the future, if demand increases significantly, or at other ports, for instance, the supply chain is disrupted by the war, and so there is congestion at other ports, and there may be the need for some cargoes to be unloaded temporarily in Hong Kong, and there is a certain need for storage. We believe that at our terminals there is the need for us to upgrade and enhance such service. You mentioned SMEs. At present, for shipping agencies and shipping companies, there are more than 300. Now, our characteristics in Hong Kong that there are many SMEs. Yes, there are some big companies, but many are SMEs. So when this measure is put in place, we will offer a lot of supporting services. For example, in terms of technology and system, now we have just introduced a acceleration scheme on smart logistics. So there are some funding. There is some funding for them to apply for, and then there would be technology initiatives that would be connected to our port community. These can help SMEs to adapt to the latest facilitation measures. Next, Mr. Andrew Fan. Thank you, Chairman. In principle, I support the proposal from the government. Reading from Annex 1 and 2, there are strategic items included there, including guns, ammunition, explosives, and so on. Just now, the Secretary talked about geopolitical uncertainty and war. Now, if there are these items being transshipped in Hong Kong, if there's an increase of that, have you consulted the Security Bureau and relevant national security organizations? Because this is a matter about national security. So if there is this exemption and as a result, there are more of such items that are transshipped through Hong Kong waters, then this would become a matter about foreign affairs, which the Hong Kong SARG may not be able to handle. I'll defer to our CNE colleague. Yes, Assistant Commissioner, please. Thank you. So to respond to this question, especially on strategic items, so the Trade and Industry Department will issue an import permit, and then CNE at the control point is responsible to inspect those goods. So concerning the transshipment exemption scheme, we'll work with the Trade and Industry Department. And of course, if there are any sensitive items and materials, we will impose more stringent risk assessment. And we will also make arrangements about specific security measures and see whether those items should be incorporated into the facilitation plan. Next, Mr. Yew Pak Leung. Thank you, Chairman. The Transport and Logistics Bureau has been active in developing multimodal transshipment. So no matter whether we talk about source of passengers or source of cargoes, we need to actively expand our scene because the efficiency, convenience of transshipment is very important. So now we are talking about land to sea and land to air transshipment and whether there can be exemption. I think this will be helpful to the logistics industry to lower administrative costs. I think this is important to help enhance our competitiveness. So I'm in support of this direction. We are concerned of whether the exemption will lead to some smuggling risk and also security risk because illegal items will be leaked into Hong Kong. But we should have confidence in our Customs and Excise Department because their efficiency and professionalism are well recognized. So I hope that you would be more forward-looking and aggressive in doing further work. For example, the Secretary just mentioned the intermodal transshipment system for sea and land transshipment. And then we should also be forward-looking to consider low-altitude economy and the possibility of removing barriers for the industry development. So I hope to get more response from the Secretary. I know that it is difficult to come up with a concrete timetable, but for this direction, have you considered CNED's work? Can there be a systematic plan in relation to the use of technology as well? A simple response, please, Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Yew. Let me comment on low-altitude economy. Within this year, we will issue the low-altitude economy action outline, and cross-border logistics is one important point. Together with some mainland control point offices and relevant organizations, we are doing some studies. And together with our CNE team, we are doing the work. And CNE had done some advanced planning and research. So in the future, if drones are used for cross-border delivery, we are looking into the process. And this serves as a blueprint for us to discuss with mainland agencies. It will serve as a specific plan, and we hope that we can accelerate our preparation work. Next, Mr. Kam-in. Thank you, Chairman. I do agree to the use of multimodal approach to increase our import-export business and transshipment business for Hong Kong. Right now, for land transport, it is not included into multimodal transport yet. In the future, can we take reference from Dongguan's approach? So at different points of our country, can there be land to air center, as in the case in Zhuhai? So then it will be beneficial to facilitate import-export of cargoes on land. That's one suggestion. And then regarding Annex 1 and 2, we can see many restricted or controlled products. So I want to know the standards that you have adopted in compiling these lists. Of course, countries have international responsibilities, but Hong Kong is a free port. So what are the standards behind these lists?
Secretary, I thank Mr. Hong for the questions. Currently at the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, the CNED has given us a lot of support and rolled out an express lane for air transport. And for cargoes from Zhuhai, they can, through the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, transport any live meat or fresh goods to Hong Kong. This is a kind of special facilitation measures. In future, we will consider whether we can expand this kind of measures to land to air or even land to sea transshipment. We will explore this. As for the second question, perhaps I'll ask the Deputy Secretary to elaborate. I thank Mr. Hong for the suggestion. For the goods listed on Annex 1, different government bureaus and government departments, based on their work, for example, they have to abide by certain international conventions. They also take into consideration public health in coming up this list of controlled goods. And for Annex 1, we put together the 41 types of controlled goods in Hong Kong for your reference. For Annex 2, well, starting from year 2000, under the air transshipment mode in the airport, this kind of these 15 types of goods could be exempted. Not all strategic commodities could be exempted. Only designated ones could be exempted. And for these designated strategic commodities, they are of lower risks. For weapons or commodities that might endanger national security, they are not included in the exemption list. Next, Mr. Peter Xu. Thank you, Chairman. On enhancing the competitiveness of Hong Kong as a leading transshipment hub, I believe all members would support this proposal. Now, in this meeting of the panel on economic development, I'd like to learn about this. For air transshipment cargoes or sea transshipment cargoes, do you have figures showing whether there is a growth in terms of the number of cargoes over the past 5 years? Do you only have one question? I'll ask this question first. Secretary, we have included this in the paper. Currently, in terms of maritime transshipment cargoes, they account for 80% of our container throughput. As for cargoes transported through the airport, according to my recollection, about 30%. Pre-COVID, the figures were higher. We see that in neighboring airports as well as neighboring ports, there is competition from them, and so we have to enhance our effort. We have compiled statistics for the past few years, and we have done so through the Airport Authority, and we have also worked with the other relevant government bureaus and departments. If necessary, we can provide this information to members after the meeting. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to ask about figures in relation to air transshipment cargoes over the past few years. We don't have the relevant information at hand. Well, please provide the information after the meeting. Well, I'd like to say that if we are to discuss how this would benefit our economic development, we must need to refer to statistics. if we see a downward trend in terms of the amount of cargoes, well, we'll have to discuss ways to remedy that. If we see an upward trend, of course, we would commend the efforts of the government. If we see a downward trend in the middle of the 5-year period, we will have to study the reason. Like Mr. Holden Chan said, ASPs could be transported through Hong Kong. And this is a rather special situation. Ms. Sophie Chan from the previous term government banned the ASPs, and the next term government, that is Mr. Lam Sai-hung, he reverted the policy. Why was there such a change within a year's time? It is because we see that transshipment businesses were greatly affected because of the previous policy. I mentioned if there are any statistics because I want to see if we are faced with any impacts. So when the government formulates any policies, it has to think about this. The Health Bureau would like to ensure public health, but this kind of transshipment policies has nothing to do with the health of Hong Kong citizens, but it does have an implication on our economy. So the Transport and Logistics Bureau, when you discuss with the business sector, you have to express your views that any policies might affect the economy of Hong Kong so that you will not backtrack after you've rolled out certain policies. I believe the administration has taken note of this comment. Next, Dr. Hui Simon Lee. Thank you, Chairman. I speak in support of this legislative proposal. Indeed, the exemption scheme is something that has been called for by the sector, and it is an important measure that has to do with the multimodal transshipment system. The government is studying the feasibility of expanding the scheme to land-to-air and land-to-sea transshipment, and that it will study the experience gained at the Dongguan Logistics Center to see whether it is feasible to enhance our competitiveness by expanding this exemption scheme. Now, I'd like to learn more about this. I understand how difficult it is for the government to communicate with different parties because the CNED is involved. On the mainland, our country looks at this in a nationwide perspective. So first, I would like to know if there are any difficulties for the SAR government to work with the mainland authorities. So can the SAR government talk about the challenges it faces when proposing this measure? I'll defer to the CNED. Assistant Commissioner. We, together with the mainland authorities, work very closely. If the SAR government rolls out any new measures, we talk to the mainland authorities about this. Of course, there are different lists of controlled goods for both Hong Kong and the mainland. If there are certain goods that are controlled in Hong Kong but not on the mainland, we would try to communicate that with the General Administration of Customs to make sure that we can continue to control these goods and at the same time we won't affect the economy of the GBA. Any follow-up questions? No? Next, Mr. Lau Ka-keung. Thank you, Chairman. Peri 3 of the paper states that we're facing great challenges. For example, there is fierce competition from neighboring airports and ports. Also, we're faced with an unstable geopolitical environment. Therefore, I support expanding the exemption scheme to air-to-sea and sea-to-air as well as maritime transshipment. To consolidate Hong Kong as an international shipping center, well, I have the following concerns. Paragraph 4 of the paper states that last year, the Dongguan Logistics Park handled 32,000 tons of cargoes, representing an increase of 84%. This shows the potential for us to continue to establish the multimodal transshipment system. And it is also mentioned in the paper that the airport authority has already commenced the study on the Phase 2 development plan for the Dongguan Logistics Park. I want to know if the administration has studied extending this successful model adopted in the Dongguan Logistics Park to build a cross-boundary sea-to-air transshipment center with the mainland cities. Secretary, I thank Mr. Lau for the questions. As mentioned in our previous reply, in the Dongguan Logistics Park, would like to build it into a huge logistics base. Therefore, there are currently cargoes that go through pelletization as well as cargo acceptance, and we see we have achieved great synergy with Dongguan. Now, for example, with Zhuhai, the airport authority has acquired equities of the Zhuhai airport, and through the Zhuhai aviation network as well as our aviation network, we can also achieve synergy with Zhuhai. We believe that in this regard, we will be able to expand our multimodal transshipment network with other mainland cities. For example, from Zhuhai, there are fresh goods that are transported to other destinations through the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge and the Hong Kong International Airport. So as mentioned, we are working in this regard. Next, Mr. Chan Pok-chi. The SAR government strives to expand the hinterland by establishing a comprehensive rail, sea, land, river intermodal transport system. However, the relevant sectors reflected that there are administrative workflow as well as sharing of data that sees difficulties and challenges. So I want to know, in terms of building the multimodal transport network, has the SAR government coordinated with the railway companies as the relevant mainland authorities? Also, for cargoes that go from Sichuan, Chongqing to Guangzhou and Nansha, what is the increase in terms of the cargo throughput in Hong Kong? Now, I understand that there will be a smart logistics acceleration scheme that will be rolled out soon. I want to know how the SAR government would make sure that there is effective sharing of data. So for cargoes that come from Nansha and transported to other destinations in Hong Kong, do you have the relevant information, Secretary? There are cargoes that traveled through railway system to the ports in Hong Kong. As mentioned, for cargoes from Chengdu and Chongqing through regular train services, the cargoes arrive in Yantian, and we work with Yantian through the Kuaicheng container terminal. So for Yantian, they focus on the European and US market, and for our container terminal, we focus on the Southeast Asian market. Recently, we saw a significant increase. For example, there are cargoes from Guangxi, and through barges and vessels, they are transported to Kuaicheng container terminal, and there is an increase of 14% year on year. And through the Kuaicheng container terminal, we've been able to process over about 2% of the cargoes from Guangxi. So this is a significant increase of our cargo throughput, and this is exactly why we have to develop the multimodal transport system. Now, to respond to your questions about our support for SMEs, through the Smart Logistics Acceleration Scheme, we provide financial support to SMEs. This is to help SMEs that do not have resources to install technological systems. We want to provide them with greater flexibility. So after they have applied for the relevant funding and with the relevant systems equipped, they will be able to connect with our port community system, and they will be able to get information from our multimodal transport system. SMEs can then monitor and track the location of the cargoes, and more importantly, this can help them get achieve financing with banks, and we will be able to provide them with customized financing plans as well.
Thank you, Secretary. Now, I would like to ask a simple question because of time constraints. My question is, regarding the transshipment of fireworks, is there any control or specific process here in Hong Kong? Many mainland ports ban the transshipment of fireworks because of security reason. So when it comes to the export of fireworks, there are always problems encountered. For Hong Kong, if my memory serves me right, in the past, transshipment was allowed, but for some time in the past, there was a ban on transshipment of fireworks. What is the situation now? CNED, please. I think we can explore further. The import of fireworks is definitely prohibited, but we can go back to examine the situation about transshipment. In the past, fireworks could be transshipped through Hong Kong. So if this is allowed in Hong Kong, then I guess every year the volume, such cargo volume will increase. Just now you talked about 500,000 in the future. I think if this is allowed, then there will be additional 200,000 to 300,000 TEUs. Okay, so all questions have been asked and answered. Now, colleagues, do you support that within this year the government will table the legislative proposal to LegCo? So all members are in support. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, officials, for joining the discussion of this item. So this item is concluded here. Thank you. Now, let's move on to the next item, and that is the latest implementation progress of the action plan on green maritime fuel bunkering. We'll invite the government officials to come in, and colleagues who would like to speak, please press the button. So this item is related to finance and legislative proposals, so all members have been invited to join the discussion of this item. Members, please note that according to 83A of the Rules of Procedures, if members have direct or indirect interest in a certain item, then members must first declare their related interest before they speak. All LegCo members have been invited to join the discussion of this item. So we welcome government representatives to join us. We have Ms. Amy Chan, Deputy Secretary for Transport and Logistics, and her team. The government has provided us with a paper, and also our Secretariat has prepared a legislative brief for members' reference. So in a moment, the government will make a PPT presentation. Now let's invite the government official to brief us on the paper. Because of time constraints, can you please be brief in your PPT presentation? Thank you. Chairman, members, I will first say a few words, and then my colleague will very quickly go through a PowerPoint presentation. So today, we are presenting the latest status on the action plan on green maritime fuel bunkering. So this was promulgated on 15th of November 2024, and we are going to implement two plans, and we will seek members' views on a proposal about the port dues incentive scheme for green maritime fuel-related vessels, and also the green vessels registration incentive, and also optimizing port layout. So I think maritime fuel bunkering is actually an international trend, and IMO had already set a goal of achieving net zero greenhouse gas emission from international shipping by or around 2050. After the promulgation of this action plan, we have got very high commendation from various parties, and many people are interested in joining this green maritime fuel bunkering work. In the past 17 months, we have already created many number one or many firsts. So the first one is that LegCo, in accordance with an ordinance, allows us to use green maritime fuel in the Hong Kong waters. And then on 10th November 2015, this law came into effect. And then after that, the LNG bunkering rules have been introduced. And then the second first is that very quickly on the 14th February of the same year, the first LNG bunkering had taken place in Hong Kong. And in June, the Marine Department introduced the methanol bunkering code. And then on 5th March, the first methanol bunkering was completed in Hong Kong. And then at Malte and also the container terminal, we have done the LNG and methanol bunkering. So Hong Kong is among the very few ports which can do green maritime fuel bunkering at Malte and container terminal. So last year, there were more than 220,000 metric tons in relation to the total volume of bunkering. So we have met our goal. So bunkering is only the first step. Hong Kong as an international maritime center and trading center, we are backed by our motherland. And China is the world's biggest green maritime fuel production center. And we have the natural advantages to be a green maritime fuel trading center. This policy is supported by our states. Last year, the Ministry of Commerce supported our completion of the third first. And that is the matchmaking event. On that day, more than 300 green fuel providers and Hong Kong maritime industry representatives did a lot of deliberation so that we can help the production of mainland green fuel to go abroad. And then Hong Kong can take the first step to be developed into a green maritime fuel trading center. We will not stop here. In the future, there will be the green fuel maritime corridor. And then in order to reduce the cost of green transformation for the maritime industry, we would like to attract the registration of more green fuel-based vessels. And there are two incentive schemes published in the budget. Later on, my colleague Mr. Chen will go through those incentive schemes. Green transformation is an important point to maintain competitiveness of our maritime industry. We'll continue to perfect the system to promote market development so that Hong Kong status as a regional green maritime fuel trading and bunkering center status can be enhanced. Now let me defer to Mr. Chen to continue the presentation. Thank you, Chairman. Because of time, I will try my best to be concise in my presentation. In November 2024, we announced the action plan on green maritime fuel bunkering. There are a few policy objectives. The most important one is the first one, that is in line with IMO's decarbonization target before or in around 2050, we want to achieve net zero carbon emission from international shipping. In order to reach all these goals, we have introduced 5 major development directions and 10 major initiatives. They are already stated on the slides. I won't repeat the points. So I would like to talk about the work done in the past 1 year or so. Just now, our Deputy Secretary already said that we have the capability of multi-fuel bunkering. So I think these are related with the legislative regulations as well. On 10th January 2025, the ordinance came into effect, enabling Hong Kong to make use of maritime green fuel. And then the Marine Department also promulgated work codes or rules so that there are technical guidelines for the bunkering work. On 16th October 2025, we have got LegCo's support, and that is methanol bunkering can be tax-free. So with all these legislative rules, in February 2025, there was the first green LNG bunkering, and in March 2026, there was the first methanol bunkering. And then, regarding the long-term bunkering in Hong Kong needs a complete supply chain. So we have done quite a lot of work here. For example, regarding storage facility in Chengyi South, we have set aside a 9-hectare site as storage facility for maritime fuel. In September to November last year, we have sought some proposals. We have altogether received 7. Based on the proposals received, we are doing feasibility study, and we are going to set aside a site as soon as possible. At Lung Kwu Time, we have also set aside a site for storage needs. I think the quality of bunkering is very important. So the CE said in the policy address that regarding methanol bunkering, there will be mandatory requirements on the mass flow meter so as to enhance the security and transparency. This will come into effect within this year. For traditional fuels, we'll introduce a voluntary quality bunker operator scheme. So on the bunker barges, if this mass flow meter is installed, then we will make use of a whitelist approach so as to let the industry know that there are these quality operators. In the policy address, we said that regarding green ammonia and hydrogen bunkering, we will conduct feasibility study, and within this year, we will release the relevant findings and outcomes. So there are points about green fuel trading in Hong Kong. So there is a matchmaking event in June, and more than 300 representatives attended that matchmaking event. And in November, we introduced a marine green fuel exchange session or platform. So different stakeholders will gather together, and through different events, they can get to know one another and also build a network for further collaboration. Development of maritime green fuel is something international in nature. So Hong Kong cannot do bunkering on our own. We have to cooperate with the region and the global scene. On the mainland in November last year, together with Dalian, we have established a partnership port arrangement. So there will be collaboration on different levels. We'll focus on talent training and also trading of maritime green fuel. In the future, we'll work with more mainland cities. If they have marine green fuel production facilities, then we'll work more with them so that the supply of maritime green fuel can be ensured. Now, in our action outline, we have talked about the development of international green maritime corridor. So within this year, we'll identify an appropriate port to start this green maritime corridor work. And then regarding green expertise, so under the talent training fund, we will organize courses related to green maritime fuel bunkering to build a manpower bank. Within GBA, we have already identified 8 such courses, and some practitioners are already taking these courses. Our goal is that in early 2026, we should be able to train 50 specialized personnel. We believe that we can attain this target. And then within our talent list, we have already incorporated professionals in green shipping to facilitate recruitment of experts in green shipping if companies are not able to find the relevant experts locally. Next, I would like to introduce to members the 2 new incentive schemes set out in the budget. So first scheme is Port Dues Incentive Scheme for green maritime fuel-related vessels. Next slide, please. The background of this is that it is very expensive to use green maritime fuel because fuel price is higher by a few times than ordinary fuel. Sorry, well, this meeting should end at 10:30. So now I would like to extend the meeting time by 15 minutes. Please continue. So vessels using green maritime fuel will have to be modified or retrofitted. So the cost involved is quite big. So we want to offer incentives to the industry. for green transformation. So there will be financial incentives for them. Ocean-going vessels involving green maritime fuel bunkering, and also for those OGVs involved in transporting such fuel, they will get incentives for 25 to 50%. So if they carry the designated fuel not including biodiesel, then they will get 50% incentive. So if they do bunkering, not including biodiesel, then they will get 50%. Why is it that biodiesel is taken out? Because biodiesel, if it is to be used, there is not a need to modify the vessel. So the cost involved is not that high. So indeed, you can see that we still encourage such vessels to be used, but then they only get 25% incentive. Besides, if some vessels can use green maritime fuel, but they only come here to work on the products or goods and they won't do bunkering, that means they are not bringing green maritime fuels for Hong Kong to use, then we still encourage them to come and we offer 25% incentive. For these incentives, they will last 3 years. We believe that the relevant expenditure will amount to 10.7 million. And then if we get member support, then starting mid-2026, we'll introduce the scheme. We believe that there will be support from 1,000 vessels.
Now on to the Green Vessels Registration Incentive Scheme. We hope to better promote our brand and to attract more quality vessels to register in Hong Kong. We want to attract more green fuel-powered vessels to be registered in Hong Kong. Again, the scheme will last for 3 years. For each eligible vessel, we will provide the vessel with a subsidy of $60,000 every year and are subject to a maximum of $118,000 over the 3-year period. We believe that we will spend about a certain amount of money on the scheme, and we will be able to attract 170 green maritime fuel-powered Hong Kong registered vessels. Lastly, a legislative proposal. For green fuel, they have a lower energy density compared with conventional fuels. For example, for 1,000 kilometers of distance, it only required 100 tons, but now it requires 200 tons. With higher energy density, it means that you will require a bigger oil tank. And that means a larger space will be required for fuel bunkering. A lot of times, fuel bunkering happens in anchorages. Therefore, we need bigger anchorages. And so the entire port will have to be reconfigured so that green fuel bunkering can take place in Hong Kong. The Marine Department in this connection has carried out a study. We hope that through legislative amendments, we will be able to reconfigure the port. There will be a few amendments. We will enhance the operation space for green fuel bunkering. On the left-hand side of the slide here, we suggest that in Lemma Island waters as well as in Kalik Town, we will enhance spaces for fuel bunkering. If you look at the bottom left-hand corner, we will provide mooring spaces for green fuel bunkering. And one of the examples is that we will turn the nearest bay dangerous good mooring spaces into multi-purpose mooring spaces. And also, currently in Chun Wan, there is a dangerous goods mooring space. A lot of times for greenfield vessels, they carry dangerous goods that are, for example, corrosive or combustible. So if these vessels have to be anchored or if they require fuel bunkering, then we want them to do this further away from residential areas. Lastly, we will come up with a new traffic separation scheme. For BC Waters, currently there is a traffic separation scheme in place. It is like on the road. There are traffic lanes going to different directions and there is a separator in between. This is to ensure safety. We believe that in future there will be more fuel bunkering vessels coming to Hong Kong. And so the waters in Hong Kong will become busier. For the existing TSS, we want to convert them into statutory TSS so as to enhance safety in the Hong Kong waters. In relation to the above legislative amendments proposed, we have already consulted the relevant advisory boards, the 7 related district councils, as well as the fishermen's representatives. And they do not object to the above proposal. We will be able to provide extra base to cope with green maritime fuel bunkering, and the relevant size of spaces will increase from 645 hectares to 2,877 hectares. We believe that there will be enough space for future fuel bunkering needs. We propose to amend the mooring spaces in CHOW and Lamma Island. We want to convert them into designated mooring areas. This is because a lot of these greenfield vessels, they carry dangerous goods and they have to apply for a license. Mr. Chen, please be brief because we have all read the papers, so you don't have to go into the details. So yes, we will introduce extra mooring spaces. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the charging system for the government mooring buoys. The government mooring buoys will be opened for use by fuel bunkering vessels so that they can use it for typhoon sheltering. However, the current fees are quite high. For each buoy, it costs about $2,000 to $3,000 per day. And apart from a daily rate, there are no other fee charging systems. If these vessels have to be operated in Hong Kong on a long-term basis, this charging system would not be very attractive. So we hope to lower the relevant fees so to make it more affordable for fuel bunkering vessels. There will be a daily rate as well as a monthly rate, and they will come as a package. We have consulted the relevant stakeholders on the proposed fee charging system, and they do not object to the proposal. As for our work in the future, we mentioned that there will be 2 incentive schemes. They will be launched by the middle of this year. As for the legislative amendments, we hope that we will be able to table the proposal to LegCo by July this year. There will be another meeting at 10:45 a.m. in this conference room, so we must end this meeting at 10:45. There are currently 8 members who are waiting to speak on this item. I believe I'll only be able to allow 3 members to speak on this item. As for the rest of the members, they may provide written questions. In the interest of time, I'll give each member 2 minutes. First, Captain Lothar Lam. Thank you, Chairman. I thank the administration for promoting green maritime fuel bunkering. I declare that I am a senior management of a shipping company, and our company directly benefits from the proposed incentive scheme. I have a question. The government is applying for $33 million, and the 2 incentive schemes will last for 3 years. Will you review the incentive schemes? If they are well received, maybe you will use up the funds within 1 or 2 years. And is there room to further inject money into the incentive schemes? Also, green fuel is considered as a physical commodity. If there's trading of such physical commodity in Hong Kong, will the relevant businesses enjoy the half-rate concession? I think 2 questions at most. Administration, please give a brief reply. I thank Captain Lothair Lam for the questions. Green fuel has been incorporated into the list of physical commodities. We will amend our legislations to roll out the half-rate concession, so as long as they apply, they will get the concession for $30 million schemes. We will review the schemes from time to time. Of course, we hope that the $30 million will be spent within the 3 years' time, because that would mean a lot of vessels will be registered in Hong Kong. Yes, Mr. Chen Xiu-hong, you raised your hand. I have a comment. We have limited time, and so far we have about 7 or 8 members who'd like to speak on this item. And this item has to do with a financial proposal as well as a legislative amendment. I hope that we need reasonable time for members to have a full discussion on this item. I hope that members before the end of this meeting will consult members whether we will support both the financial as well as the legislative proposal before we move on to the next stage. If only 2 to 3 members are allowed to speak on this item and the rest of the members have to submit written questions, I think, Chairman, you'll have to think about whether we should carry on with the discussion in our next regular meeting, and that would ensure a more complete discussion on this item. I hope, Chairman, you'll think about this. Administration, if we carry on with our discussion in the next meeting, do you agree? Yes, we have to finish our meeting at 10:45 today, and in the next meeting, we will continue with our discussion on this item. Yes, there will be a meeting starting at 10:45 a.m., so we'll have to hand this conference room to the next meeting. Well, thank you all for your understanding. We will conclude this meeting today. In the next meeting, we will have a more detailed discussion on this item. Thank you.